Hello, I'm Jeremy, and welcome to another episode of Jeremy U's Music Reviews. I listen to music and you hear my thoughts. This is a two-part video, so if you haven't seen part one, the link is in the description. But if you have seen part one, let's continue on with trashing terrible 2022 music.
I'm better off all by myself, though I'm feeling kinda empty without somebody else. So I hear you crying out for help, but you never showed for me when I was ringing your cell phone.
As much as I hate I'm Good Blue, at least Guetta managed to sample the main audio and chorus of the original song. This song couldn't even be bothered to do that.
I'm staying alive, I'm staying alive, I'm staying alive, I'm staying alive. Another one. Yeah. Try me 100 times.
Yeah, ordinarily I wouldn't put two songs by the same artist in a top 10 list, as that's kind of cheating. But considering this is DJ Khaled we're talking about, a man who barely has anything to do with the music he makes, I think we can make an exception in this case. Let's get the main talking point out of the way, the interpolation of Stayin' Alive by the Bee Gees. Now, it's one thing to ruin I'm Blue. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm Blue is a great song, but in the grand scheme of things, it's just a silly novelty that doesn't have that much significance beyond its nonsense chorus. However, it's quite another thing to ruin an iconic disco classic made by one of the most awesome musical trios of all time, especially by turning it into a certified lover boy track that was rejected from said album for being too lame. No joke, when I first heard that Staying Alive interpolation, I was livid. The fact that this song took one of the most iconic disco songs ever made, a song that's an incredibly iconic, an amazing classic that was in one of the best movies ever made, and also some other movie called Saturday Night Fever, and turned it into Drake half-heartedly saying, I'm staying alive, legit pissed me off. Just absolutely disgraceful. Okay, but what about the rest of the song? It still blows. The production is unbearably mediocre, with an annoying weedy flute, bland trap skitters, and no momentum whatsoever. And before any of you try to defend this by saying it's supposed to be vibey, I mean, yes, but that's not what ended up happening. There's a fine line between relaxing and boring, and Staying Alive crosses that line the second the song starts. It's ugly and boring production for a terrible song. Drake also sucks hard. Even ignoring the half-hearted and lazy Staying Alive interpolation he does, Drake just sounds so bored and soulless. Like, every aspect of his performance is just so unbearably lazy and passionless. Which, I know that's kind of Drake's MO, but even on songs like Non-Stop and Falling Back, Drake was communicating some kind of emotion, but here it's just nothing. And his boring, nondescript voice just permeates throughout the song and combines with the production to make one of the most boring sounds of all time. Speaking of which, Lil Baby and his whimper of a guest verse. Lil Baby's verse on this song literally sounds like if you fed a computer multiple Lil Baby songs and guest verses and it created a song using AI and a Lil Baby sound filter. It's Lil Baby at his most autopilot, even more than On Me. I may not love Lil Baby, but even I know he's capable of more than this dull sludge. Finally, we have the lyrics, and honestly, who cares? None of the lyrics in the song matter. They're all just soulless and boring stuff about women and money and flexing and why did you bring the Bee Gees into this? Bottom line, I despise Staying Alive. Again, I'm Good may be awful, but at least it had some effort put into it, even if it wasn't that much. This was just a boring, obnoxious piece of boredom that was only made to give Drake and Lil Baby a paycheck and to ride off a sample that they massacred into oblivion. Screw every everyone that was involved with the making of this song, and the fact that it's only number 5 should show how terrible these next few songs are.
I'm better off all by myself, though I'm feeling kinda empty without somebody else. So I hear you crying out for help, but you never showed for me when I was ringing your cell phone.
Ever since I heard this song, I knew it would have a place on my worst list. The minute I heard it, I was barraged with one of the most annoying sounds I've ever heard, and hated every minute of it. And sure, it's a bit of an easy target, but unlike Trackstar by Mooski, I'm not letting it off the hook for that. So welcome to my worst songs of 2022 list, Lil Shorty Scott.
I wanna take a pic with Cardi B inside my cardigan. Niggas know I love, they call me Shorty, Mr. Tardy Man. I just smoke my weed and fuck these hoes, I'm not no party man.
Do I even need to explain why this song is on my worst list? Like, you guys have ears, right? You can hear those shriekingly terrible vocals that sound like Mickey Mouse getting kicked in the nuts by Jean-Claude Van Damme, right? Now look, I get the appeal of squeaky-voiced rappers, but with artists like Playboi Carti and Coach Cheese, they're able to hit that balance between being squeaky enough to give the song personality, but not enough to become intolerable. And even 645AR is at least fascinatingly bad, as his voice is so high-pitched and mumbly that it literally sounds like he's saying gibberish. Seriously, check out Ford Da Trap if you haven't, it's hilariously terrible. But with Shorty Scott, he's too legible to have 645AR's fascinating badness, and his squeakiness definitely gives the song a personality, but it reaches past the point of intolerable where it becomes painful. And while that vocal performance is the main reason I hate Rocking a Cardigan in Atlanta, the rest of the elements are just as bad. The production is founded on this repetitive, annoying atonal piano key that's just repeated over and over and over again, and makes the vocals sound even worse than they already are. And the lyrics are somehow more meaningless than the lyrics to Staying Alive. They're just incredibly generic and bland flexing that feels like a first draft. Also, I want to take a pic with Cardi B inside my cardigan. So you want to take a selfie of you and Cardi B while she is wearing one of your cardigan sweaters? Why? Bottom line, Rocking a Cardigan in Atlanta is terrible. The production is obnoxious. The lyrics are meaningless. And the vocals are nails on a chalkboard level unbearable. I could maybe see someone enjoying this in a guilty pleasure sort of way, but it's just too much for me. No joke, I actually had to take breaks while listening to this song in order to make this part of the video. It's that insufferable. Rocking a Cardigan is a song that's boring at best and actual torture at worst. And like Twerkulator from the 2021 worst list, it's so bare bones that I struggled to say anything about Rockin' a Cardigan in Atlanta that other than its god-awful vocals. Maybe Lil Shorty Scott has a good song in him somewhere. After all, I was introduced to Black Bear and Nash through songs I absolutely can't stand, and they had enough alright stuff in their discography to make me reevaluate them. But Cardigan in Atlanta is just a terrible first impression that everybody should avoid like the plague. Let's just move on.
I just smoke my weed and fuck these hoes, I'm not no party man. Hit the plug and take the gas, you take off in a Harley man.
I'm better off all by myself, though I'm feeling kinda empty without somebody else. So I hear you crying out for help, but you never showed for me when I was ringing your cell phone.
Remember on my worst songs of 2021 list when I listed Zaza as a dishonorable mention and said that it was the last remnant of 6ix9ine's career? Well, to make a long story short, that didn't last long.
Ain't no pity pat, run up on a nigga, give me that. Where your jewelry at, stupid little nigga.
Give me that.
Thankfully, Gina only charted at 83 and dropped like a lead balloon immediately after, meaning this might be the career killer that Zaza wasn't. But until we get confirmation of that, let's stare into another garbage 6ix9ine song. The production is really amateurish with this generic piano riff that, while sounding more professional than the one in Cardigan in Atlanta, is still incredibly boring and monotonous. Plus, there are elements where the production just straight up disappears and we're just left with 6ix9ine's horrible voice. More on that in a sec. As bad as Gummo sounded, at least the production had some effort with like varied instrumentals and a unique sound. But this is just lazy piano noodling. And oh boy, 6ix9ine himself is just as obnoxious as ever. His entire performance at Gina is just obnoxious shout rapping that makes him sound like a toddler trying to be edgy. Once again, with Cardigan in Atlanta, at least Scott's performance is uniquely terrible. But in Gina, it's the same obnoxious slop that Tekashi does in all of his other songs. And then we have the lyrics, and oh boy. Gina is basically about 6 rapping about his experiences with the 9 Trey Blood Gang, in yet another instance of 6ix9ine rapping about the terrible stuff he did. It's all just generic slop about how he's this big tough guy and how he always brings a gun and yada 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 yada. But what really makes the lyrics extra infuriating is how 6 brings up his beef with Lil Durk, who unlike 6ix9ine I actually like, by insulting the late King Von, who Durk was friends with. Now, I don't have any connection with King Von. Obviously, I never knew him personally, but I also never really listened to his music. However, as someone who listens to artists like MF Doom and Mac Miller, who were taken from us too soon, and has had family members become deceased, I know what it's like to lose people that were close to you, both personally and impersonally. So seeing 6ix9ine rag on Lil Durk and Lil Reese for not avenging Von, which, yeah, I doubt you would ever do something that selfless, you POS, and wearing clothes with King Von's face on them, kinda pisses me off. Because it's bad enough to see someone dissing a dead person, but it's even worse when that someone is human garbage pile Tekashi 6ix9ine. So yeah, Gina sucks. The production is lazy. 6ix9ine sounds awful as usual, and the lyrics range from generic to abhorrent. I cannot think of an artist that's more irredeemable than Tekashi 6ix9ine. This production is either obnoxious or lazy, even managing to make the guy who produced Nice for What sound like a hack. His vocals are annoying. His lyrics are either bland or horrible. His song titles sound like they were thought up by a 4-year-old, and he's not even a good person. I guess he does technically have a unique image, but considering that image is obnoxiously unlikable and makes the idea of a rainbow unappealing, it's not much of a redeeming element. I am so glad we're finally starting to collectively agree that 6ix9ine was a mistake. And I hope to God that third album never comes into fruition. Screw you, 6ix9ine. Oh, and apparently this song has an energy drink tied to it. Hard pass.
I'm better off all by myself, though I'm feeling kinda empty without somebody else. So I hear you crying out for help, but you never showed for me when I was ringing your cell phone.
My second worst song of 2022 is Progress by John Rich. Yeah, this song doesn't deserve a clever anecdotal introduction.
If you leave us alone, well, we'd all be just fine. Stick your progress where the sun don't shine.
I bet most of you forgot this song was a thing. Well, I didn't. Ever since I saw Mark cover it on Billboard Breakdown, I kept Progress in the back of my mind, saving it for Listmas in order to tear it to shreds. And now that Listmas is upon us, it's time to explain why Progress by John Rich is an absolute puke bucket of a song. Let's start with the production, and it sounds less like a political anthem to rally the people and more like a Hallmark commercial. Like I can literally imagine this instrumental playing in the trailer for some generic Hallmark movie about a white couple on Christmas. Granted, it's more musically complex than Gene or Rocking a Cardigan, but A, being more musically complex than a simple piano riff isn't really that much of a compliment, and B, it still sounds bad and doesn't fit with the song's intended vibe. The vocals are also pretty bad. I don't really have the most experience with John Rich. The only other song I've heard from him besides Progress was his 2019 track Shut Up About Politics, which should basically be renamed Shut Up About Politics That Aren't Mine. And like in that song, Rich sounds pretty bad. He tries way too hard to come across as this, "aw, gee shucks" type figure in order to make his hateful, moronic lyrics easily digestible. And it combines with the production to make the song sound sickeningly sweet. It's really annoying and bland. But believe me, those are the least of Progress's problems, because these lyrics are horrible. Where Am I the Only One tried to hide its awfulness under a veneer of, where have all the good times gone? What happened to us as people? Progress just comes out and says, I hate the idea of evolving as a society and think we should live in a metaphorical stone age. I mean, props for being honest, but no? There are so many lines in the song that just make me furious. From the chorus of, "Stick your progress where the sun don't shine," to the line, "You can have back your freedoms if you do what we say," which, yeah, that's how a democracy works, you cowboy hat-wearing lunatic, to the line, "They invite the whole world to come live in our land," which, yes, God forbid someone who isn't American shows up in hopes of a new way of life. To, "If you leave us alone, well, we'd all be just fine," which is basically saying, I don't care that our society is effed up. We like it, so that means it's good. This entire song is basically that joke where a man is drowning and is refused help because God will save him. But then when he gets to heaven, God tells the man, "What the heck is wrong with you? I sent you a bunch of help." Only if the man never got the God realization at the end. It's an anthem for all the idiots of the world who refuse to grow or evolve or change. For all the people who refuse to recognize a race, gender, or sexuality that isn't their own. For all the morons who criticize awesome reviewers like Razorblade by saying, "It's just a kid's movie, stop being so harsh on it." For people who think Princess Peach showing a slight bit of competence means the new Mario Brothers movie is woke. And for people like John Rich, who can't understand that change isn't always a bad thing. Yes, there are certain times when things are perfectly fine the way they are and don't need to be changed. But there are also numerous times when change results in good things. When it allows society to gain a new understanding of itself. When it allows underrepresented minorities to finally gain a voice. When it allows new ideas that were never even thought of, much less thought possible, to finally become possible. And when it allows for new avenues of experimentation to make something awesome even better. But people like John Rich want to shut all of that off by saying, "Who cares about that stuff? We like society fine, so that means it's fine." And I say no. Let's not stick Progress where the sun don't shine, but Progress the song, yeah, that can go where the sun don't shine. Progress by John Rich is pure musical bile. The production and vocals are incredibly bland and basic, and the lyrics are really harmful. At least with the other songs on this list, even the song that ended up beating Progress as the worst song of 2022, their lyrics are either just boring or incompetent. Even 6ix9ine's defamation of King Von, while disgusting, isn't actually causing any worldwide harm. But this is. Songs like Progress instill the message of change is never a good thing. You like the way things are, so keep living it and refuse to evolve. Well, I'm sorry to tell you this, Rich, but society is going to evolve no matter what. The world is going to grow. People will change. Old ideals will be dropped in favor of new ones. And in a couple years, we may not even be here. So either get with the times or be left at the bus stop as the rest of us keep moving towards the future. I am so glad this song did not go anywhere, because my God, do I hate this pretentious, jingoistic swill. Screw you, John Rich.
Where the sun don't shine, where the sun don't shine.
And before we get to 2022's crowning turd, here are some dishonorable mentions.
Cost half a ticket, plus tax, then go Draco for a mishap. It's a Barbie on my wrist hat. I ain't at the bus stop, my niggas bust back.
While Nicki and Baby's other 2022 collab, Do We Have a Problem, is okay, Bussin' is just terrible. The production is obnoxious, Nicki sounds awful, Lil Baby barely exists, and the lyrics suck. An ugly song that's insanely obnoxious as well. Next.
Spin round, whoa. Step down, whoa. Hellcat came with exhaust. You switch out on me, must be lost.
A lot of people put Super Gremlin on their worst lists, but as far as Kodak Black songs go, Super Gremlin isn't that bad, as it at least has solid production, a tolerable KB performance, and an interesting lyrical premise. None of which I can say for Walk, which is everything bad about Kodak Black rolled into one neat little package. Obnoxious, boring, repetitive beat? Check. Kodak's annoying voice? Check. Boring lyrics? Check. Nothing redeemable whatsoever? Check. A terrible song from a terrible artist. Go away, you boring hack.
Bitch, I'm burning up. Call a fire truck, they say I'm heating up. Suitcase for my racks, they say that duffel wasn't big enough.
Leroy is alright, but the production is ugly and seedy, and Wick gives easily the worst performance I've heard from him. When the Kid Leroy and Cole Bennett can't save your song, you're pretty much screwed.
Compliance. We just need your compliance. You will feel no pain anymore.
I hate everything about Compliance. The production is obnoxious 80s drivel, and I mean that in a bad way. The vocals are annoying and bland. The lyrics are generic, and it's also so catchy that it'll get stuck in your head. A bad song that's stuck in your head level catchy is pure torture, which perfectly describes this ugly musical train wreck.
I don't want to come on too strong, but I'm moving to your rhythm.
A boring Drake song made even worse by bed springs that rival Lil Shorty Scott's performance on Cardigan in Atlanta for the most annoying sound of 2022. And the worst part is that Drake is not the first person to use this specific bed spring sound. It originally came from the song Some Cut by Trailville and has been used in multiple other tracks, including Baby Don't Like It by NC127, Jalebi Baby by Tesher and Jason Derulo, Perfect Love by Luna, I'm Not Sorry by Dean and Eric Bellinger, and Or Nah by Ty Dolla $ign, among others. So, multiple people looked at Satan's Bed Spring and were like, yeah, this sounds good, let's use it in our song. What the hell? Also, thanks for Kenneth Takanami for providing me with this information. Link in the description for his channel.
Never say never with you. I end up together with you. It's hell and it's heaven with you, baby.
So yeah, hot take. I hate Never Say Never by Cole Swindell and Lainey Wilson. The production is dull. Swindell and Wilson sound terrible. The lyrics are alright, but not enough to save the song, and the hook is actually nauseating. I'm sorry, CHR83 and Mike Duggar. I like you too, but I just don't get what you guys see in this boring dreck of a song. And if anyone watching this video hates Never Say Never as well, please let me know in order to assure myself that I'm not crazy.
Let's make some bad decisions. I want you, ooh, baby, all of the time. Send me.
I will admit that it's a step up from Permission to Dance, but Bad Decisions just does not work. Where songs like Memory by Kane Brown and Black Bear and Ready or Not by Calvin Harris and Busta Rhymes takes what makes each of its collaborators work and combines them in a way where they can both shine and sound natural, Bad Decisions just falls apart at the seams. The production is stiff and generic, trying to have a disco groove, but not really being fun enough to dance to. The BTS members sound incredibly forgettable and plastic. The lyrics are meh, and what the hell did they do to Snoop Dogg? He sounds terrible. The dog went from having great guest verses on Sunday and from the D to the LBC to whatever the hell this is. Yeah, no. Blanco, Snoop, and BTS have all made songs that are better than this. Listen to those instead of this ugly mess.
So bright tonight, but don't you let go of my hand. You can cry every last tear.
An incredibly boring and blah ballad that works in Top Gun Maverick but absolutely nowhere else. Listen to I Ain't Worried instead, it's so much better.
Take my hand, let me make you mine. I'm through waiting, taking my time. Never felt like this before. Take my name and make it yours.
Yay, Parmalee is back. I'll give it this. Take My Name is better than Just the Way, but it's still bad. The production is boring, Matt Thomas still sounds terrible, and the lyrics are sleazy garbage. Sorry, Parmesan cheese, I'm not touching your music.
Holy fuck, holy fucking fuck. The body of yours is absurd. I do anything for it, that's my word. How you such an hourglass, body on curve?
The song starts off by making an incredibly forced reference to an Adam Levine meme, and then continues to suck by having an annoying beat, will.i.am sounding bored and soulless, J. Ray Soul sounding obnoxious, Apple D-App and Taboo not even showing up on the track. Granted, if they did show up, they'd probably suck, but still. Lyrics that either say, "You're hot," "I know I'm hot," or "This guy likes my boobs." Like, I'm not even exaggerating. Pretty much every line in this song can be boiled down to those three sentences. And an annoying repetition of double 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 these. Garbage song from a garbage album. Consider this the honorary number 11.
That's the trouble with a heartbreak. It's gonna hang around, leave you midnight, breaking down, wondering how long that is gonna take.
I hate Jason Aldean. Say what you will about FGL, Luke Bryan, and Sam Hunt, but at least they have personalities. But Jason Aldean is such a boring personalityless pile of cardboard. And Trouble with a Heartbreak is another boring and disposable piece of filler with mediocre production, okay but forgettable lyrics, and Aldean's boring, nondescript voice. If I never have to hear another Jason Aldean song again, I'll be a happy man.
I can lick it, I can ride it while you slipping and sliding. I can do all them little tricks and keep the dick up inside it.
If the idea of soullessness could be converted into audio, it would sound like Super Freaky Girl by Nicki Minaj. Everything about this song is so blah and nondescript, from the played out Super Freak sample, to Nicki giving in no effort whatsoever, to lyrics that make the lyrics to WAP sound like they were written by the Lonely Island. SFG is just an incredibly passionless attempt to combine You Can't Touch This and Anaconda, and it just reeks of desperation, blandness, and lack of effort. Do better, Nicki. And now number 1.
I'll make you know, I'll make you know.
Where the other songs on this list fill me with either boredom or rage, my number 1 inspires a different feeling. Disgust. My number 1 worst song of 2022 is a song that inspires absolute disgust and uncomforted me, even more than Shutdown and Progress. The kind of disgust and uncomfortability that could only come from a posthumous cut.
True love shouldn't be this complicated. Thought I'd die in your arms. I thought I'd die in your true love.
I have mixed feelings on posthumous songs and albums. When done correctly, they can be a respectful tribute, a way to look back on the amazing accomplishments of the artist, while still giving their fans a comforting memento to help them move on. But when done incorrectly, they can be a cynical, lame Frankenstein's monster of unfinished demo snippets made to cash in on an artist's legacy. And to say that True Love is an example of the latter is an understatement, because my God, do I hate this monstrosity of a song. Let's start with the production, and God, it's just so empty. It's just miserable, dour, and depressing piano keys, followed by an ugly, unchanging trap groove that sounds like there was no effort put into it. And yes, I know the song is supposed to be depressing, but unlike Slow Dancing in the Dark and Romantic Homicide, both of which take the song's dark aesthetic and adds some unique atmosphere and depth to make the song's sadness feel more personal, this is just lazy and boring. Maybe the pianos could have worked, but they aren't fleshed out enough to communicate a vibe, and the trap groove that plays during the rest of True Love is just too bland and uninteresting to carry the song. And then we have the vocals, and they just suck. Now let me get this out of the way. I am not an XXXTentacion fan. There are some songs I like from him, like Riot and Moonlight, but overall I just don't vibe with his dark, moody demeanor the same way I did for Juice WRLD. That being said, I do get why a lot of people love X, as they were able to relate to him in a way that I just couldn't. As for X on this song, yeah, I don't like it. His voice sounds way too whiny and combines with the production to make True Love a chore to listen to. Not to mention how the song doesn't even try to hide the fact that the vocals are pre-recorded. They sound so grainy and synthetic, clashing with the much cleaner sounding vocals from Kanye. It just reeks of lack of effort. Overall, X's performance on True Love is just an uncomfortable, half-baked song fragment that makes an already awful song even more awful. And speaking of awfulness, Kanye West. 2022 was not a good year to be Kanye West, as he was under fire for so many stuff. From the Half-Baked Donda 2, which was only available on his $1 trillion glorified voice app, to the White Lives Matter shirts he and Candace Owens wore, to him defending Adolf Hitler on Alex Jones' show, which even for Kanye is friggin' insane. And while his TL verse isn't the worst thing he's done this year, again, that would be the Hitler thing, it's still really bad. A lot of people hated another 2022 Ye collab, that being Easy by The Game, but I actually like that one. True, the single art cover was absolutely terrifying and WTF, but the song itself is essentially True Love done right. The production is actually really interesting and vibey, with a nice atmosphere and cool shuffling trap skitters. The game's rapping is really solid. The lyrics are interesting, and while West's verse isn't his best, it's still decently effective. I bring this up because Ye's verse in True Love is what people who hate Easy thinks Ye's verse in that song was like. Where in Easy, Kanye sounded not super energetic, but still invested in what he was saying, and True Love, Ye sounds like he's checking his phone while singing. It's such a phoned in, no pun intended, and lazy performance that makes the entire song feel like no effort slop. And then there are the lyrics. Like I said earlier, True Love's lyrics don't piss me off as much as Progress's lyrics, as they don't cause any worldwide harm, but yeah, they're still really bad. The song is basically both X and Ye singing about their relationship struggles, with X only singing the hook of "True love shouldn't be this complicated, I thought I'd die in your arms," and Kanye singing about his divorce with Kim Kardashian, and my god, they just don't work. X's hook is not great, but I've heard worse hooks, and Ye's lines are just terrible. In addition to his half-hearted delivery that makes it sound like he's playing Flappy Bird while recording the song, the lyrics really don't help make Kanye look sympathetic. Constantly using his kids to manipulate the audience into sympathizing with Ye, having corny lines like, "When I gotta return them, scan them like a barcode," and generally just sounding really pissy. I'm not saying that Kanye is 100% to blame, but the song's lyrics really don't do him any favors, and they combine with the awful production and vocals to make this song just insufferable. Bottom line, True Love isn't just bad, it's insanely bad. The production is lazy, X's vocals are shoddily handled, Kanye couldn't care less, and the lyrics are pissy, boring, corny, and incompetent. I know there are some people that like this song, but I'm sorry. I really don't. True Love deserves all the hate it gets, because it fails on every level. As a tribute song, it falls flat. As a song about a failed relationship, it makes Ye look unsympathetic. It's too dour and not interesting to be a so bad it's good song, and unlike the other songs I talked about in this video, it's not even fun to tear apart. And sure, Progress by John Rich may piss me off more, but at least it felt like Rich was passionate about what he was making. But with True Love, I don't feel any passion. It's a half-baked Frankenstein's monster of a song that dumps all over X's legacy in order to have the music industry cash in on said legacy, and so Kanye could notch another track onto his stupid Donda 2 album. And that is why True Love by XXXTentacion and Kanye West is my pick for the worst song of 2022. Rest in peace, X. You didn't deserve this.
True love shouldn't be this complicated. I thought I'd die in your arms. I thought I'd die in your...
And that concludes my worst list. Comment your thoughts on your own worst song 2022 songs list, and be sure to tune in for parts 1 and 2 of my best songs of 2022 list. Just to warn you guys, be prepared for some hot takes. Until then, this is Jeremy. I'll see you next time. Bye.